The EU worried as Brexit UK takes control. Now, this stems from a report last night from Peter Foster of the Financial Times. He reported that the UK is planning legislation to override key parts of the Brexit withdrawal treaty and Northern Ireland Protocol, a potentially huge move in negotiations. He said that 3 sources with knowledge of plans with the UK's internal market bill, due to be published on Wednesday, and this autumn's finance bill will contain clauses that eliminate the legal force of parts of the withdrawal agreement, and the Brexiteers who've been calling on Boris Johnson to ditch the withdrawal agreement will, of course, like this move. And of course, guys, in the comments as ever, let me know what you think about this. In a no-deal, Peter Foster saying, in a no-deal scenario where the UK seeks untrammelled sovereignty, it has a powerful logic. Now, lots of speculation follow-ups on this today. The Telegraph saying ministers threaten to rip up Brexit divorce deal as they say businesses need certainty. The Environment Secretary George Eustice has been doing the rounds today. Admitted that there are legal ambiguities in the Brexit divorce deal after it emerged that ministers are planning legislation which would override key parts of the withdrawal agreement. Sections of the internal market bill, again due to be published this Wednesday, hope to eliminate the legal force of parts of the withdrawal agreement in areas such as state aid and the Northern Ireland customs. George Eustice saying it's always the case that there could be 1 or 2 loose ends. The government has to offer legal certainty to businesses, and the government has a role to protect the Good Friday Agreement. It follows news that ministers are planning legislation which would override key parts of that Brexit withdrawal agreement. George Eustice telling the BBC that the EU are in denial about what it means to be a coastal state. The 2 sides meeting in London from Tuesday for the 8th round of negotiations. Eustice saying, we believe when we leave the EU, we want to be a bit like Norway and control access to our waters and control resources within that. The EU seems to be in denial about that, even though that is the legal default. And he slammed the EU for refusing to engage in discussions, saying it's been difficult to engage in a sensible free trade agreement. We will still be working very hard over the next month to try and get that delivered. Now, as the UK takes control on this, of course, it sparked worry and a backlash from the EU. Irish Foreign Minister Simon Coveney saying this would be a very unwise way to proceed. Michel Barnier himself, of course, the EU's chief negotiator, saying that he was worried by the latest twists in the Brexit negotiations and would seek answers from the UK's chief negotiator, David Frost, over claims that Downing Street is planning to negate parts of the withdrawal agreement. He said that everything that has been signed must be respected, and the EU is demanding, quite simply and calmly until the end, that the political commitments in the text be legally translated into this treaty. The important thing, Michel Barnier saying, the important thing for me is what the Prime Minister says and does, and what the British government itself says and does. So, a lot of reaction on this already. Now, Guido Fawkes, obviously very plugged in, has said that the government's plans are not as dramatic as first appears. As things stand, the withdrawal agreement committed the UK and the EU to establishing a joint committee to oversee, monitor and interpret the application of the agreement. In the event of no agreement being reached, there will also by definition be no agreement over the interpretation of the withdrawal agreement and its Irish protocol, which is in parts extraordinarily vague. This is where Wednesday's legislation comes in. The description being used by the government is as a safety net, so there'll be a clear interpretation of the protocol in UK law that does not risk creating internal borders within the UK. The government's interpretation of the treaty will not allow barriers to internal trade, according to a source close to the plans, again reported on Guido. The government sees this as a pro-union legal move. The Remainers see it as the opposite. We won't get to see the specifics, of course, until Wednesday. Now, my reaction to this on Twitter, and if you're not following me, guys, go and make sure you follow me, at Michael_Heaver. Good to see a Brexit Conservative government asserting itself. Now drive home the advantage and ignore hardline Remainers who lost every public vote. Yeah, of course, predictably, Remainers who campaigned against Brexit, have whinged about it ever since, have tried to stop it, have tried to slow it down. They're not very happy about this. Well, guess what? They lost every public vote, right? They lost at the general election. at the European elections, at the referendum, of course. And so they need to understand that we've got at the moment a Boris Johnson-led Conservative government just voted in with a chunky majority. They voted in, of course, thanks in part to the Brexit Party standing aside and helping them get that majority. And that's democracy. We now have a pro-Brexit government led by Boris Johnson. And it just seems to me it's the same old people that whinge about everything. They've got to recognise in a democracy they've lost. And, those that want to slow down and dilute and stop Brexit completely, lost. We had that debate multiple times. Their side lost in the public votes. Nigel Farage saying, the oven-ready deal last year was not Brexit and we said so. I am pleased that we are tearing it up. Richard Tice, of course, another former Brexit Party MEP, chairman of the Brexit Party, saying the EU in breach of good faith in trade deal negotiations. So Boris Johnson, totally correct to override certain parts of the withdrawal agreement. No deal, no problem, and no deal was always better than a bad deal. Let's go, WTO. Mark Reckless, leader of the Brexit Party in the Welsh Parliament, saying no parliament can bind its successor. The EU tried to exploit a parliament hung by Remainers to get what it wanted without giving us what we wanted. We now have a parliament with an 80 Brexit majority, so of course we must revisit the withdrawal agreement. And again, this is democracy. And David Campbell-Bannerman, a former Brexiteer, former Conservative MEP, saying, it seems to me that if the EU acts unreasonably in blocking a free trade agreement as it is currently, then it is in direct breach of the withdrawal agreement, so they shouldn't complain if the withdrawal agreement is reformed and our payout withheld. The basic point is this, guys. This is a government that is taking a pro-Brexit approach on negotiations. And of course, as I said, hardline Remainers that seem to bitch and complain haven't yet recognised the fact that in a democracy, they made the arguments to dilute and stop Brexit and they lost. And what you're now seeing is a Brexit Conservative government asserting itself, not being pushed around and led around by the EU as we saw under Theresa May. But as I say, asserting itself. And those who bitch and complain about this sort of stuff are the people that were trying to stop the democratic outcome of the 2016 referendum. And of course, now you're seeing a Conservative government with that majority, led by Boris Johnson, able to assert itself and able to do what is in the national interest. But as ever, I want to know what you think about this. Do you welcome this? What do you want to see the government do moving forward? Let me know in the comments as ever. And if you've enjoyed this video, of course, give it a thumbs up. Remember to click subscribe and the bell so you don't miss the next report. Cheers and thanks for watching.